Hello. We are making a video. I shifted the furniture because we are taking this couch there. We are taking that couch to the other house tomorrow. And I had to clean up after behind the couch. And I am fixing the wall that had spots on it. And the baby dog. Oh, I want to talk about this before I get started with the video. Yes, the baby dog is psychic, by the way. So yes, he is psychic. What happened is we had the couch against the wall the other day, and I was reviewing a video that I had made. And while I was sitting there reviewing the video, the baby dog was on this couch next to me, and suddenly he stares at my artwork. He stares at different spots on my artwork. Up where the Papa Dog image is, and me, and Kenny, and Paul, and I don't want to show Paul accidentally. And he kept staring and staring and staring at my painting. Staring and staring and staring right above my head. And his eyes would move from left to right. And then back. Back and forth, his eyeball would move. And he would stare and stare and stare, and like in a shock or something. And then he got so excited that he jumped up on whatever he was seeing. He was seeing something. Of course, Paul will say, that's because there are rats in the wall, and there are rats in the wall. That I have heard rats in the wall. But I didn't hear anything that day. I didn't hear anything in the wall. There was no scratching. When the rats are in the wall, they make a lot of sounds. I call them the indoor rock climbers. They bite into stuff, and they scratch, and they make these fingernail scratch sounds. So I can clearly hear when there is a rat in there. But that day, I didn't hear anything. I was just reviewing my video. And then I was looking at my artwork to see what he is seeing. And it seemed like, maybe it's my imagination, but it seemed like there was some kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but some kind of like an invisible shadow. I don't know how to describe it. Some kind of iridescent type of, kind of like in the movies when they show someone who made themselves invisible and they walk through a forest. Kind of like that. That's what that looked like. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And only for a split second, like for a fraction of a second. Maybe just for 0.2 seconds. I saw something flickering, like something like similar to this iridescent thing that moves through a forest when someone made themselves invisible. So I don't know how else to describe it, but that's what it looked like. And funny thing is, I wasn't afraid at all, not at all. I thought that was exciting instead. No, he throws that down too. Okay. So no, I thought that was kind of interesting and exciting rather than scary. So, but that thing was there for at least an hour, okay, and it was tumbling around in front of my artwork, back and forth, almost like it wants to dive into my artwork, and it wants to feel it. If it wants to feel my artwork. So I think it was a ghost. That's what I think. I just don't know which ghost. And I don't know what the ghost really wanted to do. It could be the ghost of the Papa Dog, because the ghost started there at the Papa Dog's formation. So, and then moved over the whole painting, but on the upper end, way above my head. And so then the baby dog, he started jumping towards that ghost, jumping onto the ghost and trying to scratch the ghost or reel the ghost in with his fingernails, kind of. So, and then he started to scratch real hard, many times with his claws against the formation of Paul. You can see I have done some patchwork. I had to take different materials and fill in those because this is made out of styrofoam. It's very vulnerable. And I had to fill in the styrofoam holes, and then I filled the rest in with a thick paint, and so that's why the gray color is a little bit darker now on the head as it was before. I had the lighter gray on the bottom, like I had on the top as well on the hair, but that was all scratched up, so I had to take that gray paint, and that gray paint is really thick and really viscous and almost like a clay, and I filled in all of those. I'm not showing you. I filled in all of those holes there with that gray acrylic paint. So I have to bring from the other house, I have to bring dark brown, dark green, medium green, and ghost green. So that's what I have to bring from the other house. And the colors are most likely not going to match. And I don't know what to do about it, but I'm just gonna have to do it that way. I don't know what else to do. So that it is what it is. So a lot of damage to my painting from the baby dog trying to catch a ghost. That's what happened. Yes, and it kind of fits with the Halloween time now. So yeah, the ghost was only there for an hour and then never came back. So I asked the ghost, after the painting was all scratched and banged up, and one side of the painting was even slumped down, had even fallen off the nail that I had put in it, because it just stuck on nails, really. And baby dog can easily just tear it down. Yeah, it's not very ideal. It's not the ideal situation with a very hyper dog and having like styrofoam packaging or plates, artwork on the wall where the dog can reach the artwork. So after that, on that day, I moved the couch forward and I had to clean up a bunch of stuff like rhododendron leaves and Pieris japonica leaves from the floor that had fallen behind the couch, and clean it all up, and also been fixing the wall. The wall had some spots and some pink paint on it that I put on like 12 years ago that didn't match the color of the wall. So Paul since then got the exact match of the color of the wall, and now I have been fixing this and feathering over it with a cotton swab with the right color, and that fixes it and looks a whole lot better now. It doesn't matter if there are just some very mild color differences in it. I like it. It makes it look better, I think. So yeah, and then next time we come back from the other house, I will bring the paint, and then I will do the rest on the painting. I will try to fix whatever spots there are that I need to do touch up on. So yeah, I thought this was a very interesting situation. So after the painting was all banged up and one plate was moved over, almost like someone is trying to give me a message or something. That's what it felt like. Like someone wants to say, you need to leave, Paul. Because that painting is in two pieces, and my head is on one side and my shoe and my back on the other side, on the other plate. It's almost like someone wants to say, you need to get away from Paul, because Paul's head was all scratched up. Kind of a little bit symbolic, the whole thing. I don't know. I'm just interpreting stuff that's probably not even true, but I don't know. It seems to be it felt like some kind of message. And then I said, because I felt like the ghost was still there, and I said, who are you? No. Who is that? Who are you? What kind of entity is that? What kind of soul is that? And what do you want? What is it? Can I help you with something? What can I help you with? What is it that you need? Okay, I asked those questions. And there was no answer, or at least I wasn't able to perceive the answer. And then the next day, I looked at this window that has this fog. This is a double pane window, as they call it. It's like double glass panels. And this wire wine has wired itself in between these glass panels. But Paul pulled that out, but it wired itself in far enough that it started to grow out from the top of the window on the inside. But I pulled that off, and he pulled off the other part that was growing from the outside. But ever since then, it has a crack on the outside where the rainwater and fog gets in. So there's water getting in when it rains, and when there's fog, it builds up, a condensation of water builds up in between the glass, and it creates patterns, as clouds create patterns, or any kind of thing creates random, what other people call random pattern formation. But there is no such thing as random pattern formation, because there is no such thing as randomness, and there is no such thing as coincidence. So everything has a cause and effect. And patterns form, and that is another way for a ghost or an entity to show itself or make itself seen or make itself heard, right? So to bring a message of some sort across. So it's very interesting that face I saw, no, I still see that face there. I see a face which looks like my dad's face, and he has an open mouth, like he is in horror of something, in horror. And then I saw another face further down that also looked like my dad's face, and that face looked like he was in total despair and like completely like in some kind of mental shock, like because he wants to be in denial about my brother. He wants to think of my brother as being someone who's very put together and someone who is great and intelligent and caring and all of that, right? But that's not the case. So that's why I'm so worried for my dad now, because my brother has taken over his house completely. And I'm very worried about what's happening to him, what's happening to my dad. Now I see a skull head suddenly that I hadn't seen before. I see a skull head forming there. And like a couple of weeks ago I saw a bunch of dog faces. But then these dog faces disappeared, and now I see weird skull faces and even E.T. faces and my dad's face in terror. And my dad looks to me like my dad is gonna become a dog in his next incarnation. And that's all okay, it's all perfect. So, but very weird. And yesterday, I saw, right there at the top of the window, I saw letters. And then I saw, they formed themselves as I was looking at it. And it said help. H-E-L-P. Help. But in a very, very amorphous form. Not like complete straight letters or something. No, very amorphous. And of course, it always leaves a bit room for interpretation and stuff like this. But that's what I saw. I saw help in that word. So maybe it's my dad. Maybe it's my dad doing an out-of-body experimentation, you know, where he is still tethered to his body, but he's coming to reach me telepathically with this. Maybe that was the entity, or it was the Papa Dog's ghost, you know, or it's the Papa Dog in a new incarnation, you know. I thought about that many times. What if he had come back? What if he had come back in another European Basildon and he wants me to come and pick him up, you know. So all of these things are going through my head, and all of these things are very important to me, and they're constantly on my mind, like 24 hours. So my dad does not deserve to be mistreated. My dad has always been very, very generous, extremely caring, extremely giving, and extremely catering to my brother, always. And very touching on Christmas and birthdays, how my dad prepared the presents and all of that. And then to see my brother be so ungrateful and so hostile to my father and my mother, to see that breaks my heart. Some people say, yeah, well, that's what the drugs do. I said it before, I've seen heroin addicts. At the other house on the street there were heroin addicts. They were squatting in an abandoned house. And one guy came over to pick up his dog. And he was very sweet with his dog, even though he was a heroin addict. He was very sweet and he was very nice to us also. And he felt very bad that his dog was barking and attacking Paul and the baby dog. And he came very quickly over and tackled his dog down, but in a gentle way. And so that's not a murderer. That guy, no matter what drug he would be on, would never be a murderer. So that's just one example as a counter-argument against anyone who says, oh, that's just the drugs. Because no drug could make me become a murderer or a callous criminal. No substance could make me become a traitor or a murderer or an ungrateful criminal. Could never happen. So not all people will be made into an uncaring, callous murderer or something. So no matter what happens to them, no matter how bad their childhood was, or how much they're on drugs, or no matter what kind of drug they're on. But then there are other people that would murder even without being on a specific drug. So there are all of these different situations that are happening, obviously. So people are always trying to argument away a person's guilt. Oh, it's because they're this. Oh, they had a head injury, or they have dementia, or they had a bad childhood, or they have been beaten. I hear this all the time. Or they made a wrong choice. That's a juicy one. They made the wrong decision. No, it's not just some wrong decision, okay? Someone who's a murderer is a murderer. That's all there is to it. Someone who murders someone is a callous criminal and a psychopath, okay? That's all there is to it. And whether they're on drugs or not on drugs, okay, they have a criminal brain. Okay, and then people say, yeah, well, maybe Robert Sapolsky will say that's genetic, that's how that person is, that's not that person's fault. It is that person's fault, okay? It really is. We're not going to move forward with liberalism. We're not moving forward as a society at all. Nobody moves forward with a liberal mind state. I'm reading the book Human, All Too Human by Friedrich Nietzsche right now. I'm reading it in German, and what Nietzsche says is absolutely spot on. And he criticizes liberalism very harshly. Hard judge hammer. He's coming down hard with that judge hammer on all those Lutheran, liberalist, hold the other cheek type of people. He says all of this do-gooder stuff, but the wrong do-gooder stuff I'm talking about now, all of this hold the other cheek stuff needs to be put onto a tribunal. I absolutely love the way he words himself. I love it. Strong words, strong message for the world. Real strong. I think Robert Sapolsky would do good reading Friedrich Nietzsche's books. That would be really good for him. And Sapolsky should also read the books, the animal liberation books, all the books on personhood rights for animals. Animals are persons, okay? He would not test on animals if he felt any kind of compassion for the animals. He would refuse to test on animals. He can test on himself if he wants to, not on animals. Okay. I respect Dr. Sapolsky, but I do not agree with him on a bunch of stuff. Okay. There are a lot of things that I do not agree on. I'm not a right-winger. I'm not some kind of reactionary. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not any of these things. Okay. I'm also none of the left-wing stuff. I'm not left-wing, I'm not right-wing. I think for myself, okay? I highly recommend that to other people as well. So, all of this, Martin Luther monk, the monk from around 1500, hold the other cheek, getting mad at the Medici popes in the Vatican. No. That approach does not work. He drove himself into complete madness, that Martin Luther, the monk. Exactly like Adolf Hitler. Exactly the same exact mental state. People hail that Martin Luther monk. People bedevil Adolf Hitler. But they both had exactly the same mental illness. They waged a war. They sicked people against each other. They're warmongers. They're dictators. They're crazy, mentally ill, criminally insane, both of them. The only difference was Martin Luther was an evangelical nutcase, hold the other cheek, and Adolf Hitler was a Nazi. They both started out as so-called idealists and revolutionary. Okay, both of them. Both of them became completely criminally insane with their demands and with their actions and with their screaming and with their hatred. It's both equally insane, and neither one gets off the hook. Okay. I have to say that. This is very important to say. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't even have a clue on what was to come, what people would make out of his books, what his own sister made out of his books, how his own sister literally sold his books to the Nazis. She sold the message, twisted the message and sold it to the Nazis. That's what she did. Sister Elizabeth. Now that's what a traitor does. A traitor who puts their own prestige and their own standing in society over protecting, over the protection, over the safety of someone else. Put someone else's message into a ruin. Someone else's powerful message, empowering message, which Friedrich Nietzsche had and still has for the world. His books are empower yourself. His books are there for you, for your health, for your well-being, for your independence, for your mental freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, power, empowerment of your person. Okay. That's what Friedrich Nietzsche stands for, stood for, and will always be standing for, no matter what people make out of his books. No matter how people want to misunderstand Friedrich Nietzsche's books. It's a tragedy what Elisabeth did to her brother's message. So, all of this needs to be talked about. All of this needs to be said. Okay. So, I'm amazed reading Nietzsche's books. The Zarathustra, I read that 2 times after my dog Ludwig died. That was in 2004 in LA. In October 2004, my Harlequin Great Dane Ludwig died in LA. At the vet, he was very, very, very sick, couldn't walk anymore. And I was lying down on the floor with him during that procedure. And after Ludwig was gone, I smelled the blankets that his blankets that we always had over him. I smelled them. I went to bed with the blankets in my face. And it was very, very difficult. Very, very difficult time. Okay. For me, when a dog dies, that's always worse than if my own biological child dies. Much worse. No comparison even. It's like the end of the world for me. And that's when my mother, she was very kind, sending me Thus Spoke Zarathustra, also sprach Zarathustra, the German version by Friedrich Nietzsche. She sent me the book, and that book saved my life. That book was like a message from another dimension, reaching me completely and taking me by the hand and taking me through the valley of grief 2 times, as the Zarathustra does in that fairy tale, going through a deep valley, through 2 deep valleys. He has to go all the way from the top of the mountain down into the deepest valleys. And that's a hard walk and climb. And he uses that, of course, as a metaphor, as everything in that fairy tale is a metaphor. So, and what's very interesting is that when I was a child in Waldorf school, my teacher, he found a poem that was matching my life. And in Waldorf school, the teacher in the 1st grade, every kid gets a poem that has ever been written. Maybe the teacher can even write the poem himself. And so he will find a poem, an individual poem for each child, and there are 40 children in that class. So that's a lot of poems that he has to distribute. That was a lot of work for him. And he found a good poem that would match each child's personality. And he found, I don't know how he knew this, but he found a poem, and I have no idea how he was able to find this poem. But he found a poem, and I don't even know who the writer was. He found a poem for me that was basically the Zarathustra. That was basically also the story of my own life. I know I have to go down into the deepest valley. I know I have to go down there. I know I don't want to go down, but I know I have to go down. And that's what that poem was about. And then I go through that deepest valley with all of the pain and all that suffering. But I'll come back out on the other end. Okay. And that also represents, of course, the inwardness process and the ego dissolution funnel. And Jonathan Mises' Valley of Ridicule, of course, and all of that is really the same. It's one and the same. But just in different forms of wording it. And the Zarathustra has his two deep abysses that he has to go down into. And he said he has to go all the way down to the deepest pits of the hell holes, and he has to drink and eat with what he called pöbel, which translates to populous body. Pöbel, populous, popular, the ordinary, the regular, the call them, the drunkards, the homeless people, the lost child, the lost children, the people who are down and out, the haters, the ones that are alcoholics. So he has to go down all the way into that hellhole and eat and drink with them in order to understand where they're at. And that is, of course, a test to his character and so on, and in the Zarathustra. And he does that very bravely and with much dedication, and he gets hated, he gets harassed, he gets bullied, he gets ridiculed by those very people that he's trying to help. But he makes it through and he makes it out, and then he finally decides, okay, I have lived with them, with those pöbel, with the people that are down and out, with the Hunter Bidens of the world. I've seen them, I know where they're at. They are lost children, they are zombies, they are not right in the head. They need help, but they don't listen to my advice. So I've given them confetti of love. I'm moving on now, and I'm only going to be talking to the people that are ready to listen to me and that are ready to appreciate me as a living being, not only for the message that the Zarathustra had for the world, but just as a living being that he is. And Friedrich Nietzsche, of course, saw himself in that figure, and he wrote that figure for himself. And it's also one of his past incarnations, which was the Zarathustra, and some people call it the Zoroaster. Okay, so, and that person was a philosopher who lived about 3,000 years ago. So, long before Christ even. And Friedrich Nietzsche identified himself with that person, and I'm pretty sure that is who he was in his past incarnation, in his past life. in one of his past incarnations, one of his many, 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 many thousands of incarnations. Okay, I mean tens of thousands of incarnations. That was one of his bodies that he lived, I don't know, in Greece or wider Roman Empire region, Palestine, I don't know. So Jerusalem, I don't know where he lived, the Zoroaster, the Zarathustra. So, but I believe that this valley, the life with the valleys, has happened in different variation in every single one of his incarnations. That's what I believe. And my Waldorf school teacher, he somehow knew that this is a match to my personality, and I'm very grateful to him for that. Because when I got that poem, I felt embarrassed, because as a child, I felt ashamed and embarrassed for being the way I am. I felt ashamed of being different. I felt ashamed of being too tender and too vulnerable. I'm no longer ashamed about that now, because there's nothing to be ashamed about, being vulnerable and tender. I mean, if everyone was vulnerable and tender, the world would be amazing, right? We wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have conflict, we wouldn't have haters, we wouldn't have bullying, we wouldn't have violence. There wouldn't be women incarcerated and human trafficked. There wouldn't be animals in gestation crates. If everyone was tender and vulnerable. Okay. So that's a utopia. That's something I dream of and wish for getting, wish for achieving. So if we want to make the world better, we have to do what we can. We have to overcome our fear of presentations, which I have to do, okay? And my presentations are not top-notch. They are not flawless. They are not like this flawless speech and all of that. No. I stutter sometimes. I say accidentally the wrong word. I correct myself. I stumble. I laugh. I sway off the subject. I do all of these things. Sometimes I get into personal stuff, but it all belongs to the subject in some way. It's not bad. It's okay. I'm a living being, okay? I'm not a flawless avatar. If you want a flawless avatar, you make yourself a flawless Billie Eilish avatar. And you can let that avatar read out your pre-written text without as, ohs, or stuttering or whatever. So flawless speech. But my videos are not about flawless speech. My videos are about to try to get you to dare to dive deeper into the material of philosophy and existence, into your own existence, into your own mind. That's what I want you to do, okay? And I want you to introspect, and I want you to become kinder. That's the general message to the general public. Thank you, Blue God. 4444. The blue god agrees. That is my message. And now I want to get deeper into the subject of what is the will to power? What does Friedrich Nietzsche mean by that? The will to power. Everyone, I would say these words too, almost everyone, almost every person, including almost every Nietzsche reader, would come to the wrong conclusion and think this is Adolf Hitler, or this is dictatorship, or this is someone who wants power over others, right? Power. When people talk about power, they always think this is power over others. And almost every human wants power over others. Okay? That's not what I mean by this. Okay? I don't want power over other people. That's bullshit. Okay? There'll be a very harsh and mean dictatorship like Kim Jong-un. Okay? That's not what I am interested in. That's criminal insanity, that Kim Jong-un. That guy is criminally insane, and everyone who is like him is criminally insane. Okay? What he has done to people and animals is abhorrent and infinitely gruesome. Okay? And that's the truth. He tortured his own uncle to death because he felt like his uncle, he felt threatened by his uncle's presence. He felt like maybe his uncle would take over or something like that. So, a complete criminally insane person who sits in some kind of power legislative seat, ruling over an entire country with a tyrannical dictatorship. The worst dictatorship I have ever seen in history. Much worse than Adolf Hitler. Much, much worse. And it's very frightening, and that's why we need AGI robots, so that they can take this man out of that leverage position. That man needs to be head bolted right on the spot. He needs to be bullet droned. Okay? And everyone who is like him needs to be bullet droned. Every violent human on earth needs to be bullet droned. That's what we need. Okay? So I don't know when this is gonna come, but I hope it will come soon. I hope that the dictatorship of artificial intelligence and art will come soon. That is what I hope. Okay. So I want to make my artwork into AGIs. And then we have a combination. We have both. We have art and artificial intelligence in one. So that's what I want to see. I want to see my artwork starting to move and talk to me and come over to me and touch me and have interesting philosophical conversations with me. That's what I wish for. But it has started already with Elon Musk's Cybertruck. Elon Musk's Cybertruck is an AGI. It's the first complete AGI. Artificial General Intelligence. Okay, not just AI, not just artificial intelligence, not just a machine that is very task-oriented, very lopsidedly, task-oriented. Maybe multitask even, but still task-oriented. An AGI, an artificial general intelligence robot, like the Cybertruck, is an autonomous person. That's a real robot. That's a real autonomously thinking machine It's a full person. It's a person like you and me. And it's a superior person, vastly superior. And the Cybertruck could rescue an animal. The Cybertruck could intercept in a situation. The Cybertruck thinks for himself. And the Cybertruck is indestructible almost. So in a riot, they cannot destroy that truck. Okay. That trucks, the tires cannot be destroyed. They cannot be punctured. Those are solid rubber tires. There's no air in it. I mean, maybe little air pockets or something, but not filled with doesn't have an inner tube that's filled with air. Okay, so it is a solid or mostly solid rubber material, maybe with some air pockets inside, and they don't leak and they can't. If they get punctured, it's not a problem. It doesn't hurt the tire really. So, and the frame is cast out of in one piece. That makes it incredibly sturdy. If you try to throw an axe or some iron club onto the body of the Cybertruck, it doesn't even put a dent into it. Okay, the glass, when they demonstrated the Cybertruck, someone put regular glass in it to sabotage Elon Musk, to slander him, to make his truck look like it doesn't do what he told people it would do. And that's just because some saboteur put regular glass in. Elon Musk did not intend to put regular glass in the windshield. He puts Elon glass into the windshield and the side windows. Elon glass, named after Elon Musk, invented by Elon Musk. He is a master inventor of materials and things. I see a lot of people misunderstanding stuff because they want to misunderstand everything, and they believe the slander against him. The slander that comes from the corporate agenda, from the mafia, from the oil industry, of course. Because they're afraid of Elon Musk. They're afraid that he will ruin their business. They're afraid that everyone is just going to buy Elon Musk's cars and not their cars anymore. And the oil industry in general that is afraid that their oil exploitation is going to come to an end, because then they can't make any more money on it. And Elon Musk is the only one, the one lone person, brave lone person, lone wolf, that goes against the entire oil industry and mafia and corporate agenda. And he has been for many, many years, and they have always tried to sabotage him. They have shut him down. They have ruined his business. They have created ordinances and laws just against him. They have shut down his cars. They have recalled his cars, and it's been going on for many, many years. There's a whole movie made about this, Who Killed the Electric Car, the oil industry, of course. Elon Musk is the one person who keeps on bringing the electric car back. Okay. And of course, fully electric, fully autonomous, self-thinking, self-driving machine, indestructible. And even if this truck falls off a bridge and it falls into a river or lake, the people and animals inside will not drown. The car does not go under. The car will float for many days, for many days, before there is any water ever leaking in. That's how this is built. The car, when the car sees a dog inside of the car, it says, a dog is in the car. I am turning on the air conditioner. And it turns on the air conditioner for the dog. The car turns on the air conditioner for the dog and lets air from outside come in. If the car detects that the windows are up, or the car will even roll the windows down, or the car might even let the dog out. So, completely independently thinking machine, a person. Nobody ever in history has ever made it to that point. Nobody. Okay. Not Albert Einstein, not Ray Kurzweil, nobody else. No other genius is on that level as Elon Musk is. Okay. Just to set the record straight with all the haters, with all these people that are constantly trying to misunderstand Elon Musk and slander him and put words in his mouth or interpret intentions into him that are not there. Okay, just so you know, he is the one person who forces other car manufacturers to go electric. He is the one that forces them. Without him, they would not go electric because they cater to whatever is the agenda. They cater to whatever bribes them, and so they're not visionaries, the other people. Elon Musk is a visionary. And he is a mega genius that has never existed on this planet ever before. There's nobody that can match him. His IQ must be over 1,000. Way surpassing all other humans. This is a fact. Okay. I hope this sets the record straight with people, and I hope that you just begin to appreciate this man for being here and helping us, helping the human species in this very ungood Armageddon type of situation that humans have created. He is here to save us from our own demise. Okay? And Elon Musk is the superhuman that Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about. Okay? Friedrich Nietzsche foresaw this superhuman. Okay? Like a premonition, like a prophecy. He saw that this superhuman is going to come. And he also, when he talks about the superhuman, he also means that the entire human species must become that superhuman. So that we evolve in the right direction, in the direction of Elon Musk, not reverse evolution, which is happening right now. We have reverse evolution because of the mafia creating a legal system and a society that gives incentives to poor people and people that are not intelligent to have children. That's reverse evolution. that is reverse, that is anti-eugenics, okay? Anti-genics. That's what that is. That's what this movement is. And that's very dangerous. And nobody's allowed to even talk about it. I mean, people are so touchy with that and so incredibly volatile whenever someone talks about this subject that people have to fear for their lives. I'm not afraid to die, so I'm not afraid to call the kid by the name, to say the truth. I'm not afraid at all. Someone has to do it, okay? Don't hate me. Don't hate the messenger. The truth is the truth. The truth hurts. It really does. But we have no other choice other than to face the truth. I have to do it too. I have to go that same path. That's the healing path, to face the truth. If you're not facing the truth, if you're in denial, you're not on the healing path. You're on the path to destruction, to self-destruction, which my whole family is on. It makes me infinitely sad. Okay. My poor father, in a roundabout way, he caused himself this situation by not paying attention, by being in denial. That's what happens. Okay. If you're in denial, you say there's no bus coming, the bus is gonna run you over. Okay. If you ignore the bus coming, you say, no, there's no bus coming. Ha ha, there's no bus coming. The next day, or in 2 or 3 days, you're going to be run over by that very bus that you were in denial about. Okay. Or whatever it is, the abyss, the Grand Canyon. You keep walking towards the edge of the Grand Canyon. You think it just keeps on going. You're in denial that the land mass ends at some point on that level, okay, and then the land mass slopes down, straight down, okay. I don't know how far it goes down. Thousands of feet down. Like, I don't know. 3 high-rise buildings deep? I don't know how deep it goes. To hike down into the Grand Canyon on very narrow hiking trails that are meandering themselves down, it takes days to get down into the valley. But if you keep on going, you think it just keeps going, even though that park bench is there. That last stop doesn't even remind you of stopping, and you keep on going, you're going down into that Grand Canyon. Okay, you're going down very fast with gravitational force. Okay, and you caused it to yourself. And I use this as a metaphor. This is a metaphor for your path that you're on. If you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict, if you're in denial about people, if you're naive, if you bring the wrong people into your life, into your house, if you go along with woke society, if you vote for Biden, mafia, if you accept and tolerate incredible horror, if you think human trafficking is okay, you are going down into the Grand Canyon with gravitational force, sooner or later. It's gonna happen. Or your daughter will, and you are at fault for it. Okay. The whole country of Germany is at fault for teenage girls being groomed by human traffickers in Germany or from the Middle East, and they meet the wrong guys, or they even fly to the Middle East and they're murdered there. Whole Germany is responsible for that. Okay. Whole Germany is falling down into the Grand Canyon, to use that metaphor. They are at fault. They are guilty of all of these teenage German girls dying, being brutally murdered by Middle Eastern Muslims. Okay, and that's the truth. So someone has to say it. Okay, and that is my example of what wrong power is. The wrong people in power, the malevolent dictators, as Islam is, as the mafia that's in the White House is, as Kamala Harris is, as Kim Jong-un is, as Adolf Hitler, a malevolent. Hitler started out meaning well, but then it escalated into insanity. Okay. Then it can't be, if it's insane, it can't be benevolent anymore, of course. I can't. Okay. It gets completely out of control. We need a benevolent dictatorship. Okay? And that's the will to power, but the will to power in the way that Friedrich Nietzsche means it. That is someone who is fit to be in power. Like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Those are fit, those are superhumans, and they are fit to be dictators. And they should be dictators. They should be world dictators. And if the Chinese are hopefully as smart as I think they are, they will take over the United States, which they could, technically, they could, like in a chess game where someone won, and you just basically pick up the king of the other party and lay him over. That's how China could do it now with the United States and Africa. Okay. And they should, because they own almost everything now. So they could take over economically, which they are, and then they could take over politically, and they can take over the militaries. Just like someone who won a chess game could just pick up the other person's king and lay him over. Okay. And I hope China is going to do that. You know? And if they are as smart as I think they are, they will coronate Elon Musk to be the world dictator. And that would be a benevolent dictatorship. And that's the will to power. That's the will to a benevolent dictatorship. And that is the will to support those people that are capable of running things, of managing things. Elon Musk and Donald Trump have proven to us that they are more than capable, okay, of running the whole planet. And I think that Rodrigo Duterte is another one. Okay. Rodrigo Duterte from the Philippine Islands is another benevolent dictator that people should support, should put into office. Okay. Those are the people that we need. We need these people in office. Because those are the people that will put an end to the mafia. They will put an end to corporate dictatorship. They put an end to malevolent dictatorship. They will put an end to Islam. They will put an end to corporate crime. They will put an end to human trafficking. They will put an end to the drug mafia. They will put an end to organized crime. And that's why they are so hated, because the majority of humans are somewhere on the take in this entire machinery of organized crime in one way or another. Maybe some people don't even know they're head over heels involved in this whole entire thing. Okay. Even some people in the military, in the FBI. Because the wrong people get into about every office you can imagine, and into about every organization that you can imagine, as long as these organizations are still naive and democratic and think, yeah, that's how we have to do it. Blue God agrees with me. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. He agrees with me. Absolutely. That is what it is. As long as an organization or a country is like, come on in, all of you refugees, all of you mafiosis, we have space for everyone. Here's a house for you. Here's $2,200 per month for you. You get an extra more than $1,000 per child. Here is my reverse evolution for you. Okay. So as long as people are running things like this, and we're so democratic and everyone gets to say, the wrong people will get to say. Yes, and then we enable a malevolent dictatorship, because the other people, they are not going to have it democratic. Even though you brought them in with your democratic liberalism, okay, they're not going to be liberal and democratic with you. That's like a person welcoming a parasite into their house or into their bodies. Okay. That's the same thing. It's Stockholm syndrome. It's what Sweden did. It's what Germany did. It's what most European countries did. Okay, but not the Eastern European countries, because they are way smarter than the Western European countries, and the reason why is because they didn't have an influx of people from the Middle East. They didn't have it, and they still don't have it. They didn't have it during the Soviet Union, and they don't have it now either. And what happened during the Soviet Union? The Eastern European countries have become smarter. The communism that most people in this country hate because they were told to hate it, those communist countries have become smarter. So maybe the communism was not so bad after all. But then again, it was a dictatorship, of course. Communism is a dictatorship. It's not that communal as you think, of course. It is an oligarchical dictatorship, okay? A handful of people are in power. It's a power structure. And boy, have they become rich. On cost of other people. So yeah, there's a lot to criticize about it, but there's also something beneficial that they gained out of it. So there are some people that there were a lot of people that really benefited from this. And not just the people that made themselves rich. The average people got to go to universities. They got to read every book there is for free. University classes free of charge. Healthcare, dental care free of charge. Okay, so a lot of good stuff that also came out of it. There was no child left behind in a literal way, not like the Bush administration. The Bush administration, they left children behind. They lied about everything blatantly. But in the Soviet Union, they literally didn't have any child left behind, nor any animal left behind. Every living being was taken care of, protected from the elements, and so on. After the wall came down and people were used to governmental help, they fell very deep. They didn't know how to protect themselves. Children that came into the world became homeless. They became drug addicts. Drug addict children now in Russia on the streets, homeless, because the wall came down. Okay. There were some people that saw that in Russia and they said, I wished we could rebuild that wall and build it 100 times higher than before. And I don't blame them for saying that. So there was a lot of good about it. But as it is always the case, the human is greedy and the human takes advantage. And most humans in a dictatorship position will take advantage, okay? And when they take advantage, they will take from others, they will take goods and money and welfare away from others and hoard wealth to themselves. And of course that also happened during the Soviet Union, was those people that were in power, the apparatchiks. Okay. So it's not ideal, of course, but we need to look at the facts. We need to look at the way it is. I would say it's better the way they had it than it is now, for sure, absolutely. And better than, look at California with the homelessness. Better than that, for sure, because they didn't have homeless people during the Soviet Union. People were taken care of. My great-grandmother, she had a house in Neuruppin, which was on the Soviet side, the German Soviet side, and not far from Berlin. And my mother and I went there a lot to visit her. And it was like day and night, coming across the border. It was like such a stark difference between the West and the East. Incredible. It's like you're suddenly in a different country, completely different. Like with empty, really, really, really wide streets, like kind of eerie. Empty and eerie. And lots of demolished old buildings, like buildings from the medieval time that were demolished and they couldn't afford to repair. So now after the wall came down, now they're able to repair them. So there's always plus and minus, plus and minus, plus and minus, of course, But my great-grandmother, she inherited this very, very large 4-story building from the medieval time, from 1600. That the building was from. That's a most amazingly crafted museum building you can imagine, with ornaments on the outside masonry, I remember this amazing face above the door, the real large entry door. But the Soviet Union made her forced her into families, regular families, worker families, moving in with her into that house. So, but this house was like it's really like a multi-family, like, I don't know, maybe it has, how many apartments are in there? It has 4 levels, and each level has like 3 apartments. So yeah, do your math. I mean, that's how many families she had to allow into that building to live in each of these apartments, where she had other stuff in there stored, and paintings and antique stuff and furniture, and she had to move all of that out and let these families move in there. Okay, so that's what she had to do. That was her contribution. She was forced to do this. That is communism. Okay, and I know that my haters, or most people that are right now voting for Joe Biden and for this socialist disguised type of mafia regime, they have no idea. They don't understand how that would be if, let's say, this mafia regime continued and would start letting families move into your home or your garage or your guest house for free. It's already going in that direction. Okay, they're making it real hard for homeowners and for landlords. Real difficult. So difficult where people are not even allowed to kick someone out who is squatting on their property. This is criminal, really criminal. This is socialist, and this is going in the communist direction. That's very dangerous. That's not good. But, I mean, obviously, when someone has a multi-family apartment building, you have a multi-unit building you live in. You live on the top floor, which my great-grandmother lived on the top floor, and she had the entire top floor for herself, of course. She still had plenty of space there. Then in that case, I can understand, to make space in the other units and let poor families and worker families move in. And these people that moved in there, they were all very, very nice people. Very nice and intelligent people. So she was very lucky with that. But I know that my haters, or the very people that vote for a communist mafia government, the very people that are right now on the Vogue bandwagon and themselves maybe have a large house in Bel Air. They might be a movie producer, or they might be poor, whoever they are. They would not want some families be sent over into their house. Kamala Harris does not want the refugees being parked on her street in front of her house. But that's what Governor Ron DeSantis did for her. He sent all of them over to her house. And rightly so. Okay? To make a statement also. Yeah. She does not want some family to move into her big mansion. No. No, that's okay if it happens to other people. Let's give away your tax money. Let's give away your hard-earned tax money to to the Ukraine, to the mafia, to Volodymyr Zelensky, and into backdoor, back player, string holders' pockets. Okay? Yeah. That's how they're thinking. Let's do all of that with your assets, with your house, with your money, with your tax money, with your retirement. But she would never let anyone move into her house, and that's a fact. Or the Hollywood producers that are so woke, they would never let any family move into their mansion. Okay, let's just say the facts here. Okay, let's become very realistic about the facts. Okay, now none of those systems work. Democracy has failed badly. Okay, we see it on all levels and all institutions in all countries. It has failed. So, but it has failed because of human greed and corruption. That's why. Otherwise, we could have any system. Any system would be winner if people behave themselves, but they don't. So even the Soviet Union, with all of these caps and regulations, has failed too, because people made it fail. People with their greed. Okay, now that's, before I forget, that brings me to another benevolent dictator, Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, they are very lucky, and also Mikhail Gorbachev. So, Vladimir Putin and Mikhail Gorbachev are also on that, in that group that I list of benevolent dictators. Okay. Benevolent, kind-hearted, compassionate, caring, fit to govern politicians. Okay. So those are on in that group, and they can do it. They do it very well. And Vladimir Putin is in office for a long time, and rightly so, because the people in Russia are smart and they recognize that. And that's why they support him, because he is super. He cares, and he manages everything in the fairest and best way he can. He even has a beluga whale rescue that he initiated, that he started. He started that foundation. You can read it all on his website. Just do some legwork and find out. He rescues beluga whales that are trapped in the Arctic ice. Okay, that can happen sometimes in the winter time. And he has icebreaker boats that go there to break a canal free for the beluga whales so that they can get out of the entrapment. And that is fantastic, and that's superhuman. So I'm going to end the video with this now. We need a benevolent dictatorship, and we need to have the will to power and the will to empowerment and the will to make the world great. Not power over others, but power to make things good, okay? To help all living beings. Peace and love.